It was just a brain fart. I heard an interview.
No edit. Love
heard
it.
an interview.
Start the show. Start the show with this. Love it. Hi, Alex.
Evening, Brent. Hey, good. How are you doing? You sound a little congested.
Do you know why?
Well, I mean, I can't lie to our viewers. We were just talking before I hit record, so I do know why. But why don't you tell our fair listeners, our fair watchers, what's up, Brent?
I about 4 hours ago just tested positive for COVID. That's
a collective groan for everybody. Oh,
it's a flu. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Well, hey, now, we're not here to spread false information. All right.
True.
All right.
I don't want to minimize or mitigate the threat of COVID.
That's right. It's very dangerous. Yeah. However, right now you said it's not bad. You feel like you're just being burned at a stake, I believe, is how you feel right now.
Like my blood
Which isn't so
is
bad.
like 700 Kelvin right now.
Yeah. You look like you're a little flushed. Look like you got some color.
Flushed.
But look at his dedication, folks, to the show. He shows up post Ego Trip, post Metallica episode, ready to record our latest episode on Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. How
with a mighty zest.
One
for the
of
show.
The greatest records of 1987.
Okay, all right. He caught himself. One of the greatest records of 1987.
People call it one of the greatest albums of all time. I don't think I would do that. I like it a lot, and it's a personal record for me because I got it when I was 18 years old, and I immediately loved it. And it's funny because a lot of people didn't. I heard it on Much Music. I saw the Welcome to the Jungle video, and I bought the cassette. Not this one, but this one.
Oh,
I have that. This is. I couldn't find the original cassette. This is Spaghetti Incident. It's the wrapping is still on too. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, why is the wrapping? That's got to be worth like $7 or $8 these days.
Ooh, I have no recollection of why, like how this came into my collection. But I can't find the appetite tape, and I honestly do think that I wore it out, and then I just bought it on the CD because that was right around the time when CDs were coming out. I loved side one of that record so much that I only ever played side one. I didn't even make it to side two. When Mr. Brownstone was over, I rewound. Can you believe that? And to this day, I'm not super familiar with some of the songs on side two.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was so enamored with side one that I just wanted to hear it constantly. This was
fun. This was a fun album.
Good.
I think more will come out as we go through the songs, but I had fun with this. I'd never gotten into it. Like their first album, Guns, like a debut album. We've talked about a few debut albums. Obviously, bands like this put in their time and their hours, but the fact that Welcome to the Jungle kicks your debut album off and still holds up every time I listen to it is probably one of the greatest rock and roll songs of all time is wild.
Yeah, right. I think it truly is. I bought this cassette at the same time that I bought another cassette by a band called Faster Pussycat. And people who are into the genre will know who that band is. They both got signed at the same time. And I bought them both, and I thought, and they toured together, actually. They went to London together to promote their new records. And they were both LA bands. They had played together at the Troubadour and the Sunset Strip bars and clubs. And I couldn't, at first, I thought, yeah, they're both pretty good. But I didn't really, until much later, I didn't really kind of see the brilliance in Appetite for Destruction.
Right. It's it's pretty insane. Like when you start thinking about like all of every piece of these songs and how each of them come together, the solos and the choruses, like the catchiness of so much of the songs and so many of the songs, like it's pretty wild. Do you know what they were doing, or any of these guys were doing before Guns N' Roses?
Everything about this band.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite bands. Yeah,
like I'm just so curious as to like what could they have been possibly doing, either together or separately, before coming together to make an album like this as a debut album.
That's a cool part of their lore. They were kind of the guys that were not wanting to be in the other bands on the Sunset Strip at this time. So like Poison and Warrant and Bullet Boys and all the glammy bands, they didn't like that. They didn't want to do that. They were a lot more hard edged, and they were a lot more kind of punk infused, especially Duff McKagan, the bass player. And they were kind of the outsiders. They literally were, like, you know, they talk about in Paradise City, urchins living under the street. Like, they were street urchins. They truly were. They lived off strippers. They all lived together in shithole houses and were starving and had no money. And they really had, an air of authenticity to them. They were real. And you got that right off the bat.
So I guess we're gonna find out some of that stuff, I guess, as we go through here.
Welcome to the Jungle. Tell me about it.
It's just great. It's great. Like I like the opening notes and like the chorus, everything that it's just, you know, I was listening to a podcast where we're talking about like, you know, this is like, it's like Welcome to the Jungle, but like Welcome to Guns N' Roses. Like that's what this is. Mm-hmm. It's like an introduction to who this band is. And as you kind of start going through the songs, you start realizing that, yeah, like the jungle is is Guns N' Roses. And I just love everything about this song.
It blows my mind that those notes at the beginning, you know, the first couple notes for Welcome to the Jungle has that same kind of classic rock anthemic ethos as, you know, the opening of Bob O'Reilly or Won't Get Fooled Again. As soon as you hear it, you just kind of, you get excited. There's an excitement that you feel.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because those guys in Guns N' Roses didn't think, I think Axl did, but the other guys didn't think they were going to do very well. Slash said, somebody asked him in an interview around that time before the album came out, and they said, you know, what do you hope to achieve? And he said, one day I'd like to open up for AC/DC. That's what he said. Quite honestly, that's what he said. Can you believe that? So they just kind of way undersold themselves and had no idea.
Yeah. They tried out a few producers for this album too, didn't they? Didn't they talk to? Did they talk to Ace Frehley? Was it Frehley they talked to about producing it, or was it?
It was Paul Stanley.
Right, that was it. This other one.
I think that how does this story go? Paul Stanley. That's kind of there's another story in there actually that Slash tried out for Kiss when he was like 15 or 16 or 17 maybe after Ace Frehley left the band. And he auditioned, which is weird, right? Because he could play. He was fine. And Paul Stanley tells the story in his book, actually. And he said, you know, this kid was cocky and he didn't make it because he was too young. But he said he looked at Paul Stanley as he was leaving the rehearsal site. And he said, you know, I'm going to be a rock star one day. You'll see. And he turned around and walked away. And this is like 1982, right? 83. Right. And so then everybody was talking about Guns N' Roses because they had created such a stir on the Sunset Strip scene. And everybody was like super hot on this band. And Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons found out about them because they kept their thumb on the pulse of what was going on. And so Stanley wanted to produce them. And he had all these ideas, though, about changing the drum kit and changing the arrangements of the songs. And eventually they just said, beat it.
Yeah.
We don't want you.
Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they went with Mike Klink. And they went with Mike Klink, who produced Triumph Records, by the way, to save money. So they could have had Mutt Lange, who produced Back in Black. And they said, no, we don't want to spend the extra money. So let's just get Mike Clank.
I think they were also considering Jack Douglas.
Oh,
Was that somebody else that they were considering? They had talked to. I heard an interview that. Oh my God.
What's the matter? What happened?
It's good. I just totally spaced on the lead singer of Guns N' Roses.
Axl Rose, you ding dong.
Okay, hold on. I gotta cut this. Yeah, hold on.
No, you're not cutting this out. You have to leave that in.
Fuck
you totally have to leave this in. Who's the singer of Guns N' Roses?
It was just a brain fart. I heard an interview.
No edit. Love it. Start the show with this. Love it. Finally. Retribution for Jensen.
For what? For what?
For all the shit that you give me all the time.
I don't give you any. You give me shit. I'm the one who doesn't listen to these songs. I get shit all the time. I heard an interview with Axl Rose, and he mentioned that they were considering the guy who produced old Aerosmith albums previously. He couldn't remember the name of the producer. But Jack Douglas was. So I mean, I assume that's who he would have been talking about, but I believe that's who they were also considering in the mix with
Slash was a massive Aerosmith fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Big.
That's
Loved
cool.
rocks. Still does. Yeah.
It's great opener. Great way to kick off the song. And It's So Easy is interesting. It's an interesting number too.
It's So Easy, I think was written by Duff. And it was like almost like a hippie song, because when they were in LA, they used to live off strippers. They had no money. They had no jobs. They had no place to live, really. So they would just kind of sleep on people's couches and get money from strippers. And they used to joke, it's so easy. And they just made this song like, it's so easy. And they brought it into the band, just fooling around with it. And then the guy said, let's turn this into like a really good hard rock song. Because it's true. We have the same experiences. It is easy. And they did.
Cool. Yeah, it was interesting. Did Duff sing it?
No. See, that's funny. Axl sings it, but he sings it in a different register.
Totally. I did not even think it was Axl. I thought for sure it was Duff. Wild.
No. Yeah, definitely him. And that's cool about Axl, because he's got these different voices.
Yeah.
And I was thinking when I was listening to this record before the show, who brings more to the table really than Axl Rose in terms of like the voices, and just an amazing vocal performance on this record, especially Sweet Child of Mine, which we'll get to in a minute. But, short of like Freddie Mercury or maybe Judas Priest's Rob Halford, nobody's beating Axl Rose in the vocal department.
Apparently he's got a wider range, the widest range of all singers, like over Aretha Franklin and Paul McCartney. Like he has like the widest range in being able, that's like, insane.
Even Mariah Carey.
That too.
Mariah Carey's like that crazy falsetto that she does.
Yeah.
That it sounds like only dogs can hear it.
Yeah.
Like Axl Rose even beats her in terms of, because he can go lower.
Right.
So his range, and I think this is in the Guinness Book of World Records. I could be wrong about this, but he has, what is it? Like an F over C is his highest note that he hits. And that's on Chinese Democracy. And then the lowest could be It's So Easy, actually.
Yeah. And it goes lower.
He's the widest range.
Than Barry White.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
He can sing.
That's a true fact.
I think it's like a half note lower or something like that than Barry White can.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It really is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love his voice.
Yeah.
I always have.
Really?
Yeah.
Night Train follows up It's So Easy.
Love.
Yeah.
Love the song so much. This is so great.
This might be my favorite Guns N' Roses track, is Night Train.
I can see that.
It's
Slashes,
fun
I think.
tune. Yeah, I'd never heard this before. It was the first time
really?
ever heard Night Train.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Really?
I loved it. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
It's incredible.
It's got this grit and it's got this power. And it just, yeah, it's really something. I love this song. So you see where I'm going with this now with side one, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle. It's so easy. Night Train, Out to Get Me, and then Mr. Brownstone, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
It is. It is wicked. You know what's funny though is because it's actually spelled Night Rain. Technically, there's no extra T. So when you ask Alexa to play Night Train, she plays Night Train from a different Alexa plays a different song playing Night Train.
Really?
So you have to ask for Night Rain by Guns N' Roses. Night Rain by Guns N' Roses on Apple Music. Yeah. Interesting, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
The song is named after a fortified wine that those guys used to drink because they were broke.
Oh, wow.
And this wine was called the Night Train Express.
Love it.
And it was like, I think it was like $8. There was a high alcohol content and a low price tag. And they would just buy bottles of it and walk around sharing it.
Let's get a load of that Night Train.
And they were all in a group, walking through a park. And one of them said, I'm on the night train. And Axel said, bottoms up. And then somebody said, and he said, fill my cup. And they were fooling around. And then they wrote the song that way, just walking around.
So good.
Isn't that funny?
I love it.
It just speaks to the organic way that these songs came together. It was just a group of outlaws, like literally just a bunch of outcasts. And they came by these songs very honestly. It wasn't like a bunch of, people, sitting around saying, okay, so like we're going to make it. And this is what we're going to do to make it. We're going to wear makeup and we're going to wear fishnets and we're going to do all these things. And Guns N' Roses, some of the guys did do that at the very beginning, but there was like a finding themselves period around 86. And when they got through that period, there was no stopping those guys.
Out to Get Me. Yeah. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Skipper?
Not a skipper. No, I'd keep it playing, but I'll be honest. And it's only track 4, but at this point I was actually like, am I annoyed of Axel's voice? I know.
We need to stop.
Well, no, because it's just the way he sings Out to Get Me and all this kind of, it's just more, it's more squelching and like, it doesn't, like only for that part where I might do a little Axel later, but
try it.
No, I don't. I can't do it right now.
I want to hear it.
No, because it's just it's just a little too. It was a little too much for me in this song. I was a little bit like, this is too much. You have to get me. Like you know what I mean. That's exactly what it sounds like right there in your ears.
I so do not hear it that way at all. Like not even close. Yeah, not even close.
No way. It's very. No. This one's very like. I think he's very passionate, but it's very just like. I can't really do this one.
Do you know what he did in the studio? And this kind of was the beginning of, the animosity that took Guns N' Roses over eventually and split them up. He insisted when they recorded Appetite for Destruction, he insisted on singing the songs line by line.
Oh my God.
So each was a take. Yeah. So he would sing one line and that was a take.
Oh, wow.
And if he didn't like that, he'd sing it over again. So line by line, he didn't do just the song. Can you believe that?
No, that's crazy.
Yeah. So the other guys were just like sitting around and they eventually would just leave.
Yeah. Like don't even stay there for that.
Yeah.
Like record your stuff and get out of there.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Slash was there for a long time too. Apparently this is kind of a funny story. Clink told this story about these guys they didn't know what they were doing, right? They're just a bunch of punks. And Slash played this BC Rich Warlock guitar. It's like this total like heavy metal guitar. Yeah. It looks all, you've seen one. So what Slash would do was he would just, when he wanted to change the strings, he would put scissors in and just cut the strings. And they would like, imagine doing that to a guitar. Yeah. The tension's released immediately. Yeah. And it would destroy your guitar, obviously, right? So he did that, and Clink's like, no. You can't do that with a guitar. So anyway, he learned a lot from Mike Klink in that studio. And finally, it was during those sessions that he settled on a Gibson Les Paul and a Marshall stack. And that was where, you know, kind of that Slash
classic
brand
look
was established.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anything about Out to Get Me that you got other than me not liking how he sings it?
It was, Axl wrote these lyrics, and it was about his life in Indiana. He had run up against the law, and he was in several scrapes with the Lafayette Police Department. And he'd been in jail quite a few times. And I think that was why he left, actually. Well, was one of the reasons why he left Lafayette for LA, was because the police were on him constantly. And he just said, screw it, and I'm leaving. And that's what Out to Get Me was about.
Mr. Brownstone. Love this tune.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you? It's got that... it's like Bo Diddley, like do.
Totally. It's a Bo Diddley meets Atomic Punk, Brent.
Oh, look at you.
You know, the palm on the yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you.
You do know. I know. I'm just bringing it to your attention again.
It's a good point, though.
Yeah.
It's like a muted. I don't know how they do that. Probably just with his pick, but very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great riff. Izzy wrote that. They're just sitting around on the floor, fooling around, and that one came together. Him and Slash. These songs came together within hours, by the way. Wow. A lot of them.
The way that everything comes together and like the solos are just all fantastic. I mean, like you hear it, and again, like just thinking about Sweet Child of Mine too. Again, we're gonna get there, but man, like just the way that these riffs and these solos came together is just, they're incredible. Yeah.
There was a lot of workmanship involved in the arrangements and putting these songs together in a certain way. A lot of these songs were rewritten too. So, and a lot of songs, they held off, they held back, and they appeared on the Use Your Illusions records. Like Back Off Bitch was one of them that was supposed to be on this record. November Rain was supposed to be on this record, but they went with Sweet Child of Mine. They didn't want to have two ballads. Yeah, Don't Cry, another one. Yeah, that was one of the first songs ever written by Guns N' Roses, actually.
Mr. Brownstone is kind of obviously it's about heroin, folks. If you don't get it, it's about drugs. They do a lot of drug songs.
There is a secret little fact about this record along those lines. The album was said to, well, there's two facts that I'll share with you. 3. So on the cassette, not this one, but the actual upside one, typically side A, side B, right? They would call them side G, side R. On side G of Appetite for Destruction were all the kind of sex, drugs, and rock and roll songs. On side R were all of the relationship songs. Interesting, if you really pay attention.
Okay.
They did that on purpose. The third fact, my favorite one, Tom Zutaut was their A&R guy for Geffen. He signed Motley Crue back in '83. He recommended to the band, because they had this like hard-edged image that he thought set them apart from the Poisons and the Warrants and everybody else. He told them Sweet Child of Mine should be buried on side 2 because it might compromise that image. And they believed him. It kind of worked against them because it didn't really hit until a year later in '88, in the summer of '88, when Sweet Child of Mine was selected as the 3rd single and played on the radio. Until then, nobody really knew about this record.
Paradise City.
This riff, do, you know, that just an urchin living in the street. Tracy Guns used to be in the band. He was in a band called LA Guns, but he used to be in Guns N' Roses before it was called Guns N' Roses. It was Hollywood Rose. And they had this song, but he said that they borrowed that riff from Zero the Hero by Black Sabbath. And I know that record. It's really funny because if you listen to it, it's the exact same riff.
I've heard this song. This is your, what do you call it? Your You Shook Me All Night Long tune. I have a very hard time listening to this song because I've heard it so many times. I like back in the day, like I had it on like a CD. Like I listened to this song a ton. Like I can't even, I can't even listen to it anymore. It's almost like it came on and I would listen to it once all the way through, maybe while listening to the album. And it doesn't take away from it, like how like good it is, you know, musically and everything, again, catchy about it, but I just can't listen to it anymore. But it's a really good tune.
Great lyrics, really cool lyrics. And again, walking around in the streets, they were just kind of making up the words as they went.
Well, my Michelle.
Wow.
That's all I was waiting for right there.
Axel was Irish. Like a little Irish affectation there.
Little Irish Axel. Yeah. This is a
you know his
great.
name now.
This is a great tune. I love this song. Ridiculous lyrics to begin the song, that first verse. But I'm a My Michelle fan. Fan of My Michelle.
I bet a real person.
Is it?
I think her name was Michelle Young, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. She was just a mess. Her parents, their dad was into porno. Like she had some tough times.
That does suck.
Yeah. Axl Rose wrote this one.
Yeah. It's, I love the intro. It's like, you know, the kind of dark intro that sets this whole dark story up.
Yeah. That's unique, eh? That's I don't know how that came to be, but it's almost like it doesn't fit.
Yeah. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
That's why I think it works, but only here. I don't know. Maybe if there's, something like this on another album might not work, but I don't know. I like it. I like the way that it starts. It's kind of like, it's intriguing. It's sort of like the beginning of Battery, you know? It's the way the Battery starts. No? It's a little slow. It's a little darker. You're not really sure what's happening. And then it kicks into a song like My Michelle.
Okay. I will give you that. Yeah. I hear that other dynamic in a completely different way.
Okay.
Yeah, it is dark. It's dark.
Yeah.
You're right. I just, the Metallica thing for me is a little bit different.
Well, it's Metallica. This is Guns N' Roses. So yeah.
Thanks, Tips.
Boy, COVID got the attitude coming out of you there, Jenny.
I'm like just hanging on here, man.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll keep going. Yeah. Think About You. This is sort of like their love song. You know, it's sort of like their, their love song. Is it? Yeah.
You can hear hand claps during the solo. Do you hear that? Like double time hand claps you hear.
Yeah, you can get that. Yeah, that's cool.
Is that funny? Yeah. If you listen closely, you can hear that. They're like way down in the mix, but it's kind of neat. It's neat for Guns N' Roses. I didn't hear that till much later, and I was like, wow.
We talk about hand claps with Aerosmith, and not really something I would imagine Aerosmith doing or hand claps either, but definitely don't imagine Guns N' Roses doing hand claps. So,
do you think that there are too many songs on this record?
It's interesting you say that, but before you know it, the album's over.
Yeah, I always thought there was maybe one too many songs on this record.
Well, I mean, I think there's a case for a couple songs that don't need to be on here.
What are they? Names. Have we talked about them yet?
Out to Get Me doesn't need to be on this album. If you wanted to, It's So Easy maybe doesn't fit, but I like it. And Rocket Queen.
See, that's funny. I don't care much for that song, but people love it.
Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, love. Yeah.
In rehearsal, Slash used to warm up with this lick, and he thought it was funny. It sounded like a little circus. He thought it was silly, And Axl actually said, that's really cool. We should, and he's like, no, it's dumb. Like it sounds silly. And Axl talked him into it. And that's the riff that you hear.
But this was sort of like the tune that they, from what I understand, is it went out, but people got hooked on Guns N' Roses from the song. But when they listened to the album, it was like nothing like what this song presented, and it really isn't. You know, it's like there's really nothing else like this song on the album.
And that's why Zutat said bury the song, because it doesn't represent the grit of Guns N' Roses, and you don't want to lose that. Because it's your strength.
It makes sense now, like
which is
well,
bizarre.
No, but it makes sense.
It does make sense, but isn't it just? It's crazy.
It is, but I think when you listen to the album now, you're like that's like you had to do that almost. Like you got to put that lower on there because this isn't really you guys. This is a great song. This is again along with Welcome to the Jungle, and you could pair in Paradise City with being 3 of the greatest rock and roll songs ever to be recorded. But it's this song, everything about it, the solos, the way the solos go. I mean, we the way that it's composed, like everything about the song is literally perfect. The way it's played, sung, it might be the perfect song.
In the solo part, there's like a preliminary solo, and then it goes into, and he literally switches his toggle from treble to rhythm or whatever, and it's electrifying because he's playing that little bit. It's almost flamenco-y, and then it just kind of flows, and then like there's a build up, and he just goes bang, and it goes into. Oh, can you hear
Later.
it?
There he is.
I don't know what he's barking at.
Somebody walking by.
There's somebody breaking into the house.
It's okay. Just finish the show. We're okay. Finish the show. Tell them you're finishing the show.
Sweet Child of Mine. So yeah, that transition is just like so electrifying every time you hear it. It's fantastic. That for me, and Axl's flawless, effortless vocal performance in the song is just a magnificent thing.
I don't want to like judge a book by its cover or but I'm going to here. When you think of Guns N' Roses, you look at a group like this, you don't think about these guys being able to put together a song like this. You think about all of like the pieces that this song has and the intricacies of it. Like, you talk about Axl and Out to Get Me, Police always knocking on his door. Like, I don't know, like urchins living under the street. Like you think about what these guys are in, and this idea of like these, like you can't, you're just going to do metal. You're going to do hard rock, whatever you want to call it. That's it. And you're going to do this, and it's not what this album is like at all. Like none of these songs are like that. But when you get to this song, there's just something like you have, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, you don't really think about guys like this being able to put a song like this together for me.
No, you're right. And they were so special in that way. The most special thing I think about Guns N' Roses, the thing that really made them who they are, and a band that is universally recognized as being a special band and set them apart from all of their ilk in Sunset and on the Sunset Strip in LA, was that they had the authenticity of the Stones. They had the swagger of Aerosmith, and they had that punk vitriol that, Duff and maybe a little bit of Axl brought in. And when you combine those things, it was literally incendiary. Like it was explosive. And that's what Guns N' Roses was in the early days.
It's cool. And that punk really comes into You're Crazy. There's very much of a punk sound and feel with You're Crazy. And yeah.
Absolutely. One cool thing about Guns N' Roses, among the many cool things about Guns N' Roses, is that they would fool around and they would put treatments on songs that were a little bit different. They would just do acoustic jams and record them. And they used to do Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones. But they also did You're Crazy, and they slowed it down. So it was like this kind of funky do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It wasn't like super full speed ahead. And they recorded it and put it on Lies, their next record. And after the show, go and give it a listen. It's actually really good. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's acoustic.
Okay, cool.
Really, really good.
Nice. All right. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. Almost a skipper for me.
What?
This is one of the songs that I don't know if it makes a difference or not being on the record.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess it doesn't make a difference on the record. Yeah. I love it, though. I love that they changed the tempo of this song 3 times. They have like the opening like verse and then like verse part 2. It's like like it's just like they go these 3 different like
you're like Bugs Bunny on that.
Was it? Intro. Yeah, it did seem pretty Bugs Bunny-ish, but no, it's just the way that they kind of take you through these 3 different like time signatures just through the verse into the chorus. I love that. I think it's brilliant the way they able to bring that together.
They apparently rewrote this song. It was an old Hollywood Rose song. I was talking earlier about Tracy Guns. And the song existed back then, and they liked it enough that they just figured they'd tweak it a little bit, and they rewrote it, and they liked it enough to put it on the record, I guess. But I never really, I don't know. I guess again, it's that side one thing, and I just thought like, for me, it's not anywhere near any of the side one songs.
Yeah. Sure. Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
No, maybe not, but yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I like it. Rocket Queen.
Skipper for you, eh?
I mean, it's
too long?
It's pretty long. I don't know. It's okay. It's not bad. I actually wouldn't say skip it. I just don't know if it's like, do you end with Rocket Queen? Yeah, this album,
That's a good question.
It's maybe not the
question.
Best sequenced album. Side 1's great, but maybe side 2, maybe not so much. But
what would you end this record with? One of the biggest selling records of all time, and it is like 30 million records.
Okay, here's something crazy. Sweet Child of Mine. You end with. Oh yeah.
If you could do the sequencing for this record with all the songs that you see here, where would Sweet Child go? It's totally up to you. You start over again.
Well, no, I mean, like, you could end this album with Sweet Child. You could do that.
Really?
Welcome to the Jungle. It's so easy. Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, My Michelle, Think About You, Sweet Child of Mine, You're Crazy, Anything Goes, Rocket Queen. I don't think you could end it with anything else. What would you end it with?
I wouldn't end it. I would just like have it perpetually going.
Think About You maybe would be an ender. Like maybe.
I don't know. See, that's another, for me, that's kind of that Izzy wrote that song. I think it's just kind of a weak.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that should have been on the album either.
Here's the thing, though. It's like you almost needed some of these other songs to break it up. Because like if it was just Welcome to the Jungle, Night Train, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, My Michelle, Sweet Child of Mine, that's 6 songs, right?
I honestly don't know what I would end this album with. I really, if I was looking at all of these songs on a whiteboard and I had to pick one to close the album out, I would really have to take some time to think about it. I really don't know the
Sweet
answer.
Child of Mine.
You might be able to talk me into it, but probably not. Huge single.
I know, but
I would probably move this onto side 1.
Sure.
Not, no, because then it kind of screws with the ethos of the record as I know it. See, these are all like weird philosophical.
Yeah, like they have a feeling. There's a meaning.
It's like altering the universe.
Yeah. So tell me about Rocket Queen. Let's talk a little about Rocket Queen. But it's weird. It's a bit weird. Isn't this like 2 songs apparently merged together or something like that? Let's see with that.
I don't know a lot about it. The only thing I know about it is that there was a woman named, and this is a funny name, Adriana Smith. The reason why that's funny is because Adrian Smith is a guitar player in Iron Maiden.
Oh, okay.
So of all the names, right? Adriana Smith was on again, off again girlfriend of Adler, the drummer. And Axl, this is just how those guys rolled back then. They're like, okay, let's go in the studio and have sex and record it. And she was like, okay. And they recorded like 30 minutes of it. The producer didn't want to go in because you had to go in and I guess they knocked over one of the mics when they were doing it. So the producer sent the engineer in, and he had to like set the mics up, and they were, you know, in
in the right areas.
You know, they were delivering the groceries. Right. So, yeah,
that's right. Real sex sounds, folks. That's what you're getting from Rocket Queen. I give this record a 4 out of 5, Brent.
Really, a 4 out of 5?
It's a 4.
What happened to the other one? What happened to the last head?
It got lost in the Rocket Queen. No, I'm just kidding. It just sounded funny to me. There's just something that I'm just like, and you know, couple that with sort of like, the voice gets a little much for me. So, you know, I'm a 4 out of 5 on this.
I was going to suggest a deeper dive into Guns N' Roses, but maybe that's not a good idea.
Maybe I'll check him out on my own time. I think I started listening to, what is it? Use your illusion.
Yeah. It's a double record.
I started
there's one and two.
I started listening. I think I played this first song, and
actually, sorry, it's not a double record. It's two double records. Use Your Illusion 1. They're two separate entities, but they're both double records.
I started listening to like the first song on the album, and I wasn't really loving where it was going, but
it's a lot like the Beatles' White Album. It's just an amalgam of everything. Okay. There's bizarre songs, there's heavy songs, there's ballads, it's just a huge melting pot of everything. So what's next then?
Exactly.
You know, we have to do this sooner or later. We got to go Queen. So I would recommend Sheer Heart Attack. Queen.
Sheer Heart Attack by Queen. I've never even heard of the album. Sheer Heart Attack by Queen. Let's do it. I'm into it. All right, man.
That head shaking. There you go.
That's it. I'm in. Let's do it.
That hurt my head.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry, you're just watching it. Brent, go get some rest.
I'm going to.
Okay. A little bit of ginseng and honey and
sleep.
Garlic.
Oh
yeah, sleep. Garlic, ginger. Whatever.
All right.
Get well, my friend.
Will. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your patience tonight.
Of course, no problem. Cheers, everybody.